Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:30 PM. Welcome to the Housing Commission's June 4th regular meeting. This meeting is a hybrid meeting with the Housing Commission members, city staff, and members of the public participating in the Oak Conference Room via Zoom. And the meeting has been called to order at 6:30. Moving right along to roll call, I'd like to introduce staff and the Housing Commission members present. We have Housing Manager Tim Wong and Management Analyst Ariana Milton. And can I get a roll call for the Vice Chair Bewley?
Present.
Commissioner Dumont?
Here.
Commissioner Cranen?
Here.
Commissioner Boosler?
Osler, close.
Osler? Here. Noted.
No problem. I usually remember Owlsler. I'm not remembering it.
I'm present and Commissioner Wong.
Yeah.
Right. Ben, would you like to provide some instructions to the Housing Commission and members of the public on how this meeting will proceed?
Sure. So thank you, Chair Switzer and members of the Housing Commission. Welcome everyone to the June 4th regular meeting of the Housing Commission. And thank you for attending. Staff will engage cameras and microphones to make presentations and respond to the members of the Housing Commission. Kind of a rough evening. For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment on an item on tonight's agenda, after the chair calls for public comment on the item you wish to speak on. For virtual participants, please engage the raise hand feature on the bottom of your screen. And for those who are calling in from a landline or cell phone, please press 9 on. For those in person, please complete a speaker card that are at the rear table and bring them to my desk. That concludes the instructions and I return the meeting to the chair. Thank you.
Right, well, we can jump into public comment. Let's see here. Under public comment, the public may address the Housing Commission on any subject that's not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the Housing Commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. You are not required to provide your name or city of residence, but it's helpful. The Housing Commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the Housing Commission cannot respond to non-agenda items brought up under public comment, other than to provide general information. Do we have any public comment? Don't see any in the room, but.
We're not having public online or in person.
All right. Well, let's get to regular business. So, under regular business, the Housing Commission receives informational presentations in addition to considering policy matters and administrative actions. For our first item, D1 on the agenda, the Housing Commission meeting minutes from the May 7th, 2025 meeting. I can open that item up for public comment.
We do not have any public comment.
All right, well. It's open for Housing Commission clarifying questions or discussion. Maybe there's some typos that anyone would like to bring up.
I actually do have a tiny errata. In item D1 on the meeting minutes, it only notes that myself and Commissioner Cranen introduced ourselves, but Commissioner Wong. So
Yeah, I noticed that. Oh,
Yeah.
thanks for noting that.
Yeah, can't forget that.
other than that, I didn't see.
Okay, then, if that's the case, then we'll staff will need to revise the meeting minutes, correct?
Yes, what we'll do is make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, we'll put that in for future minutes.
I would be happy to make that motion given that I made the, I guess.
Second it so that I.
Okay.
Okay, great. So it sounds like we have a motion by Commissioner Osler and a second by Commissioner Wong to approve the Housing Commission meeting minutes for May 7th, 2025 as amended. I will now do a roll call vote. Vice Chair Beely,
Aye.
Commissioner Dumont,
Aye.
Commissioner Craanan,
Aye.
Commissioner Ostler,
Aye.
Chair Switzer,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wong. Aye. All right, goes, the motion passes 6-0.
All right, well, item B2. We can. It's for establishing an ad hoc committee for community engagement, and I believe that we have a brief introduction of the item.
That is correct. So let me go ahead and bring it up. Okay, so good evening, commissioners, staff, and any members of the public present. I will be going ahead and just giving a brief introduction to item D2, which is going to be establishing an ad hoc committee for community engagement. And just as like a bit of an intro, this topic was actually brought up in our March Housing Commission meeting. It was agendized for April, but we were not able to get quorum, so now we're bringing it back today for June.
Historically ever been outreach committee or no?
Yes, there have been, but currently right now, this is gonna be a first ad hoc committee that we have for the Housing Commission, but there has been one in the past. And okay, so we're gonna start off with the recommendation. So essentially, staff recommends that tonight the Housing Commission establish a community engagement ad hoc committee, adopt a purpose statement for community engagement ad hoc committee, and also select up to 3 members to the community engagement ad hoc committee. So it's a 3-part recommendation. So essentially, okay, what is an ad hoc committee? So an ad hoc committee is essentially a non-quorum committee, which means that it doesn't require a quorum of the existing body to function. So for this committee, we have 6 members, so we can have up to 3 people join the ad hoc community engagement. So the ad hoc committee also needs to be task specific, which means it needs to be centered around a specific focus. And it's formed to address a particular issue or to like serve a particular like purpose. And it's also not a Brown Act body, which means it does not require an agenda, it doesn't require meeting minutes or like public noticing to actually meet. You guys essentially like create your own schedule and figure it out amongst the committee itself. Okay, so for some background, I included the current Housing Commission work plan, which was reviewed and approved and adopted by City Council in September of last year. And staff believes that specifically this ad hoc committee could help with the work plan number 1, which is community engagement. And that reads as follows. It's to provide information and education related to tenant rights and tenant protection efforts, and host and co-host local legal resources and or presentations via the Housing Commission as part of expanding community engagement. This is to increase diversity of community participation and input. It would also include having a minimum of 2 informational events, 1 every 6 months at a Belhaven location with multilingual inclusive events. And so the purpose of an ad hoc committee. So this is essentially what, like I said earlier, could contribute to working towards the progress of getting to goal number 1 of the current work plan. And that could also include not only just working on specific events for tenant rights and protections, but also the upcoming affordable housing month in May. We were not able to do specifically have you guys work on something for this May, just because of, you know, having so many new members and just timing not really working out. But this, being a part of this ad hoc committee for community engagement could definitely help maybe start spearheading that, brainstorming, trying to figure out ways that you guys can be involved in promoting the affordable housing month in May. And then also, which is part of our recommendation, we need to, you know, have a purpose statement for the committee. And the purpose statement is as follows. This is what staff came up with. The Community Engagement Ad Hoc Committee is to advise the Housing Commission on areas of community engagement, including informational events such as tenant rights and protections. Now, that isn't necessarily like the only thing that you guys can do, but this is just an example of what can be done based on our current work plan. So going back to the recommendation that I said at the start, staff recommends that the Housing Commission establish a community engagement ad hoc committee and adopt a purpose statement for the community engagement ad hoc committee and select up to 3 members for this committee. I'd also like to add as far as like, how long this committee would be formed. Technically, it's only gonna be formed until the expiration of your current work plan. So right now, it would only be it would be a commitment of 3 months, and then once we adopt a new work plan or revise the existing one, then we can revive this committee as well. So just to give a heads up if you're interested in timelines.
Sorry, could you say, when does the current work plan expire again?
It's going to expire in September when we go back to council.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, just to clarify, per the city's policies, every commission's work plan is approved in September. And so, as Mariana mentioned, that will be the timeframe for this subcommittee. Nothing to say it can't be extended. But so just as a heads up, it's kind of off topic, but the Housing Commission will be reevaluating its work plan in the upcoming ones. So, but this is squarely to focus on the current work plan.
Yeah, and then just to add one more thing, as far as the recommendation goes, with the selection of people to the committee, like, we don't necessarily need you guys to nominate your fellow members. This is a voluntary process, so if you're interested, just, when the chair opens the item up, just let us know, hey, I'd like to be, on the committee, or I'm interested, and then we can just have the discussion, but there's no need for like a formal nomination process. And that concludes my presentation. I'll return the meeting back to the chair.
All right, well, let's open things up for public comment, and we can perhaps turn things back to the commission for some questions and further discussion.
I don't have any public comment online.
And she would like to comment, but it's on affordable housing.
Okay.
So,
Are we able to reopen general
Yeah.
comment by motion?
exactly,
Okay.
if that's something to accommodate the person's schedule, we can resume this, and we'll figure it out in the minutes, but we can
Sure, that.
kind of table this discussion and we can reopen the general public comment so that she may speak.
You can come another day.
No,
Here.
please.
And you can have a seat right there if you'd like.
Have a seat.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
No.
All right,
No, it's a public.
here, I'll just go over some brief, instructions here, so, it sounds like you indicated that you wanted to, talk about affordable housing, so just public comment in general, the public may address the commission, on any subject that's not listed on the agenda, and each speaker, has 3 minutes, and, you're not required to provide your name or your city of residence, but it is helpful. And with that, the commission can't act on items that aren't listed on the agenda. So we can respond with maybe some general information, but just wanted to kind of frame that a little bit for you, and we can open the floor.
Hi, I'm guessing you guys haven't had a public comment before, but here we go. I'm also guessing this commission's new, but I don't know, I was at the city council meeting and they had a meeting yesterday, so I couldn't, present this here, but, here we go. In the Bay Area, 83% of teachers can't afford to live in the districts where they teach. People keep saying we need to quote save downtown, just like the the little website and little petition. But like, what are we saving it from? From people, becoming a place for teachers, grocery workers, and families can actually afford to live in? Why are we fighting about parking lots when the real issue is that people can afford to live here? Let's stop prioritizing cars over people, stop stalling, and start building. I've gone to school here my whole life, and not one of my teachers has lived in Menlo Park. They drive in from far away, spending hours commuting each day just because they simply can't afford to live here. These are people who support and shape the next generation, and they're being pushed out of Menlo Park. I'm speaking today on behalf of the youth in Menlo Park, unofficial, the students, kids, and future residents who want to see a community where everyone can belong. Not just those who can afford high rent, especially in Atherton. A lot of people are saying, not in my backyard, but we can't keep pushing the problem away. In every neighborhood, every neighborhood says no, like, people say, don't put affordable housing in parking lots. Don't put affordable housing in SRI or US Geological Survey, like, where are we gonna put affordable housing? Teachers, workers, and families deserve a place here too, and I think that's really important. And I don't know what you guys can do, but there's my little comment.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for
If you like, you would like to leave your.
Oh, you know what, if you'd like to leave us your contact information, and we would love to like correspond with you if you have any other questions. Yeah, you know what, actually, I got my card, so I'll just give it to you.
Let's see if I give her my email, we wanna continue chatting.
You know, when we correspond, I'll give it to you guys, yeah.
Or if you wanted to leave what she's read.
Yeah.
For the record.
Well, here's some perspective for this. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time.
Of course.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. All right, well, are you going to close public comment? There you go. Let's jump back to item D2. So let's see here, we just had the staff presentation. We could open public comment on D2.
Okay, it looks like we do not have any public comment on item D2.
Right. Well, seeing there is no public comment, I can open this item for Housing Commission. If there are any questions, discussion.
I guess I have one, which is, the statement suggested that we have a event availability once every 6 months. Would that be starting from the formation of the commission? Has there been a meeting like that in the past that we would be trying to keep on schedule with?
Yeah, I can answer that. Previous commissions, the previous commission that pretty much prepared this, there have been variations, but for the most part, it has stayed the same for the past few years. They had a couple events. They had one that they did in November, late October, and then following up, they also had one in the springtime. So, yeah, they try to, the previous commissions tried to keep it like 6 months apart.
Okay.
Yeah. And last year we did housing resource fair as part of it, as a part of the outreach during affordable housing month. So, yeah.
And when we had the discussion about the work plan that for the following year, I mean, we could revisit that on the frequency or if we.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with the frequency. I was just wondering whether this was something that we'd be planning for like next month or the fall or.
Right, I have some question, if any engagement have been done so far this year? And how many were we trying to actually schedule between now and September? To meet our plan?
No activities have, no events have been held, if you will. And there are none in the pipeline, if you will. Nothing planned at this point.
So I had a question, is there, you know, I don't know the history of how the work plan was developed, but is there a reason that tenant rights is sort of a important part of the work plan and therefore we're advising more community engagement on that specific aspect?
It could have been that tenant rights came about as part, and just kind of guess, but as part of housing element meetings where anti-displacement became a program, a very important topic for the community. And so just currently, we're going through getting feedback for an anti-displacement plan that helps, or it folds in tenant rights, whether that be and not saying that these are programs that are moving forward, but there were suggestions such as just cause eviction, maybe legal assistance, a rent registry to track increase, maybe rent stabilization. So those type of issues kind of filtered to the top, hence the previous housing commission wanted to address that topic. Yeah.
I don't wanna go too far off scope, but when we do revisit this work plan, do we build this bottom up? Does it come top down from council?
No, it's whatever the housing commission wants to, they will review and
Sure.
approve the work plan, but it comes from bottom up. if you
Gotcha.
will,
Okay.
From the housing commission to the council.
Thank you.
Also, I will say, sometimes it's built off of what you were able or not able to accomplish last year. Like you can use that as like your basis and then kind of revise from there.
Maybe certain things carry over.
Yes. Obviously, the commission's discretion whether to move forward with, carry over, or.
I mean, yeah, when I heard kind of the scoping, it is interesting that, you know, tenants' rights and anti-displacement, which is absolutely important. But it's interesting because I also think that one of the big outreach challenges here is just general, you know, affordable housing. The second piece is really, I mean, for me, that I'm passionate about is, you know, job housing ratio is just so unbalanced here in Menlo Park. And I think that's part of the education that has to happen for everybody is, you know, I know that at least from my perspective, that's something that I think is where I automatically do spend time on outreach just because it's important for people to know.
Which housing ratio?
We have 5 jobs for every housing unit here. in Menlo Park.
Job to house ratio, okay, wow.
And 4, what's it, it's, yeah, 4 employed, 4 jobs for every employed person in Menlo Park.
Wow.
So it's all the jobs in Menlo Park.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah. It's
So-
5 jobs for every housing unit.
gotcha.
So you know, basically, so similar to what our public commenter said, you know, like teachers don't live here, but there's probably, you know, a lot of jobs that are similar to that.
I guess, yeah, I have a similar response, which is definitely, I think tenant protection stuff is important and we should make sure we fulfill that original mission. But it seems to me like there's a lot of people blindsided by this process when a project comes close to them, and it would be good to try to develop strategies that we might use to make sure people are engaged earlier in the process when they can be effective at shaping those projects into something they're proud of.
Yeah, I'm actually quite interested if you're interested in looking more into the job to housing ratio, because one of the biggest employers here is Facebook, and I don't actually know how many of the Facebook employees actually work in Menlo Park versus, you know, elsewhere, so I think that'd be like just interesting to learn more about.
And I know I had this question probably a while ago, and I feel like you probably already answered it, Tim and Ariana. But I'm still, I forgot, just, you know, how many units of affordable housing we have and then how filled they are.
It's a wonderful PMR page on the website.
Yeah, does it actually have that, those things out there?
Yeah, it does, I think
It
it has
does,
the units
okay.
and the locations, although I'm not sure it's absolutely up to
Kept up
date.
to date, yeah,
And
and
we-
yeah. I mean, is more the goal is fulfilling, like filling them all in goal, getting both. Yeah.
We did have an update, with the kind of housing element progress,
yeah.
and some of that, so that is a recorded meeting, so. I believe that there was a slide in that presentation that had, some of the units and projected for like what we were for planning to reach or that are under review with the city, so.
Although I do think, at least my memory is that that presentation had our progress with respect to the units we're building under the housing element, but I don't know if it included elements that were already pre-existing, which I think is also important to know about.
Yeah, we can get you that
Okay,
information. Number of BMR rentals, ownership units,
yeah,
those type of
cool to
things.
know.
I just happened to be looking at it for, trying to find if they're on the website, if there were any available in the park, and I didn't
sorry.
find any available BMR units and, well, through the website over the weekend, but I might have been using it improperly, so. Anyway, just.
Yeah.
This was a.
That's through, I guess, sorry, this sort of came up when I was preparing this as well. But I just wanted to check, are BMR programs through, is it HIP housing now? Cause I know it was Housekeys a few years ago, and then I was noting it wasn't Housekeys anymore, and I was still having some trouble finding the current
We
provider.
have changed providers.
Again, okay.
Yeah,
We have changed providers, and yes,
Yes.
Okay, there was, all right, I'll do more
I
reading.
mean, I think it's great that we're having these questions.
Yeah, okay, we should.
I think that, yeah, that we definitely have work and community engagement and whether, you know, we're learning as we do that, I think that's great. I mean, I guess to maybe thread this conversation, I definitely had an interest whenever I first joined to be part of a community engagement, so. I mean, I would like to be part of that. I'm not sure if there's any other interest in the commission of who would want to join
This is join the,
the app.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. I think that's three, so.
Then someone else really.
Then maybe if we could, the slideshow, I think you had the.
Yeah, I can, put the purpose statement back up if we want to take a look at that.
Between the three that expressed interest, I mean. I didn't take any issue with the purpose statement.
Mhm.
Were there any friendly amendments if you guys wanted to change something or? I think it keeps it, you know, open enough.
Yeah, it's still, because community engagement just as a whole is pretty broad. We're not saying that you only have to do
Yeah.
events that focus on tenant rights and protections. It's just an example per the work plan. But, you know, you've had a lot of good other ideas of things that the committee can work on too. So that could also be included. It's just an example, but still pretty broad.
But it should be within the scope of the work plan,
I'm sorry, what?
but it should be within the scope.
Oh, absolutely, it needs to
Yeah.
be consistent with
Yeah.
the commission's work plan.
Okay.
And we're still within the work plan, kind of perceiving it twice a year, you know.
Mhm.
event, but I mean, there is a whole other angle of, social media. There's an angle of, I don't know what other kinds of outreach there might be, but,
I guess, yeah, this.
I guess, but yeah, my only question, another question was, I know that there's been, I guess, looking back at what records are available of what's been done and. That we would help us since we don't, I guess, don't have the institutional knowledge,
that would be great, yeah.
then it would be nice to. Have a little more background or, what was done and.
Okay.
What the outcomes were, and so we could kind of have a metric for. What we wanna do and
Yeah.
measure success.
Sorry. No, I think you had a comment or.
Sorry.
I've lost it. Okay. Someone else do.
I just had a question. So if the ad hoc committee puts together an event, we can all go and support the event, right? We just aren't part of the ad hoc committee, or are we not? So we have to like stay within 10 miles of the event.
Outside the building. Well, technically, we have to avoid having quorum between you guys, so.
Plan.
Yeah.
All group and-
And yeah, there are instances too where you can have a special meeting, it just needs, proper notice needs to be given. If, say like we anticipate having a quorum at a certain event or something,
Got
so it just needs a little bit more lead time to get that,
Okay.
for compliance, but.
Yeah.
If we're all showing up to Brown Act.
Yeah.
I just really support it.
You know, we love that. I mean, also that helps when you have multiple events, because then it's a different combination of people would be able to.
And kind of stagger it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Member involvement.
I guess, I think actually this was sort of my question was, well, one is just because the ad hoc committee is, the organizing events doesn't mean that they necessarily run the individual event, right? We could still have different subgroups involved in each event to spread the load or.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, depending what, like the housing resource fair, let's,
Sure.
for example, yeah. Different,
Different days,
you
different.
just invite organizations, could be part of the planning,
Sure.
the organization, but you don't necessarily need to run.
And then I think related to that, just to make sure I understand this ad hoc committee would kind of plan, organize, workshop these events, and then they would come back through the housing commission through, would it be an agendized item or like some part of the general comment statement or?
Yeah, it would be like a report out, from the ad hoc, and detailing whatever progress has been made and. Maybe if the event is, scheduled to be planned, what those details would look like, so.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes, just to confirm, it definitely needs the blessing of the entire commission.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can meet, we'd meet as a group and we can do that outside of this meeting, we should do that. And start brainstorming what we might do and find what information we might need to do that, and then figure something out, and then at every commission meeting, there's an opportunity to report out and what we're doing, or does it matter?
Yes, for the agenda, you could have a subcommittee item report out, like at the end of the agenda, you saw staff updates, commissioner updates. So if that's something that you think the subcommittee may need to report out every month, we can put that on the agenda. But yes, you meet, the subcommittee meets at its own convenience, since it does not need to be noticed or anything like that.
I guess I'm not sure if it's a friendly motion on this item or something separate, but maybe we could. I don't know, if it's a motion at all, just motion to put this as a standing item on future agendas so that there's a noticed opportunity for that subcommittee to report back every time, or is that?
We can just put it on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if we don't have an update, we don't have an update, so.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a
I
good.
think approval of
suggestion.
maybe ad hoc, maybe it's sufficient, we can put that on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Okay. All right, well, I can entertain a motion. And for the motion, I think, let's see here. We have some draft language. It would be to the 3 bullet points on the screen. So,
Okay. Just for the record, you might mention the commissioners for the motion.
Yeah. Oh, I was saying I could motion myself, yeah, so. Okay.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
But just before I start, I think I got it down, it was Chair Switzer, Commissioner Dumont, Commissioner Orfler, were interested, right?
Well,
Or, excuse me.
yeah.
Okay.
yes.
Not that I wouldn't be happy to say.
I'm following through. Okay, yeah, we just need motion in a second.
I'll put forth the motion to establish a community engagement ad hoc committee and to adopt the purpose statement as stated in the staff recommendation and to select Chair Switzler, Commissioner Dumont and Commissioner Crandon as members of the community engagement ad hoc committee.
Wow.
Oh, that was great. Second, yeah, sure, yeah.
I did love that you said that, I'm gonna have to repeat it, but. Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Wong and a second by Vice Chair Bailey to establish a Housing Commission Community Engagement Ad hoc Committee, adopt the purpose statement for the Housing Commission Housing Commission Committee, ad hoc Community Engagement Committee, and to select Chair Switzer, Commissioner Dumont, and Commissioner Cranen to the Housing Commission Community Outreach Ad hoc Committee. I will now do a roll call vote. Vice Chair Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Dumont,
Yes.
Commissioner Cranen,
Yes.
Commissioner Osler,
Yes.
Chair Switzer,
Yes.
and Commissioner West.
Yes.
Perfect, motion passes 6-0.
All right. Well, we can go on to reports and announcements. Are there any commissioner updates? Individual commissioner updates, anyone would like to report out at this time?
I'm gonna just, it's not a report, it's just that if you never do wanna go look at things like, how much, how many people work at Facebook. The census has a really great resource called on the map. And if you go to it, you can look and see, and it'll show you even like Menlo Park. How many people come into town, how many people actually stay and live here and work here, and how many people leave town to go to a job in another city. It's all well documented, yeah. And it may be a little fuzzy because it's hard to tell if somebody's doing remote work at Facebook and now they're coming back to the office. But the numbers are kind of staggering, so. I would urge anybody who's looking at housing to also look at the job side of the gig, because it's the same side of the, how do you say it? What's that expression? It's
Two sides of the same.
two sides of the same coin.
I guess, I don't know if this is exactly the normal purpose of this, but it might be a good time to give Commissioner Dumont an opportunity to give a brief introduction.
Right, and we do, yeah.
Slash, we can also all go around if we want to.
Yeah, I mean, this is my first in-person meeting since the new board composition, so I think that would be fitting if, anyone would feel comfortable, new members to the commission providing some little brief background perhaps, or maybe your interest of why you wanted to join the commission.
I'll start, I did watch sorry, I couldn't be here. Had travel plans and, but, I did watch but it's nice to see everyone in person. And my name is Catherine Dumont, she, her. I'm a 5-year resident of Menlo Park. I'm a native of the Bay Area. I was here before Silicon Valley, so I've seen a lot of changes and especially around housing. I'm a, pretty much, what's the expression, a forever renter. And, I experienced myself, the housing prices just thinking, well, this is crazy, it can't last. And so like, you know, that's how I ended up just never buying a place. But also grew up where the housing was affordable to families like the family I grew up in. And so my perspective's changed a lot. I've learned a lot about housing since coming to Menlo Park and with which has been a really great experience. I'm still learning a lot. I've also been to some of the tenant rights and protections workshops. It helped put some on myself in a different context and heard some of the stories around displacement and there's a lot of work to do and you know, but considering the history of housing in the area and the history including Menlo Park, I think it's been very eye-opening to say the least. So glad that there are people here working on this issues.
Well, welcome.
So I'm Kevin Crennan, and I think I said, I've been a 26-year resident, but I grew up in the Midwest and moved to the Bay Area. Moved to the East Coast for a while, came to the Bay Area, and forever ago. So I consider myself a native. And I have 2 kids that are native, so and a wife that's not native. She came from Texas. Bottom line is, I'm kind of, the thing that got me fired up is really 2 things. Number one, I got involved with, looking at that skyscraper that they're talking about building in Sunset and Willow Road, and that forced me to learn a lot more about our housing element and just, how the whole process works and, what we have to do, what the state compels us to do, plus what we really should be doing. And then there's the flip side. I have 2 kids who are both in the working world now and really want there to be a place for them here. So that's a big driver for looking at how do you make that possible, especially when we have that, very challenging jobs to housing ratio. And, quite honestly, got guys like me who are retired, but gonna stay here, right? So I want my kids to be able to live here without me having to croak, so that's an important consideration.
Yeah, I'm Will. I won't recap too much last time, but I grew up in Southern Oregon. I've been in the Bay Area since 2018, working in software. And in Menlo Park for the past 2 years. I guess as a renter, housing prices have continued to kind of sticker shock me, and I wanted to learn more. I think I got approximately involved when I learned about the project that's happening downtown, and wanted to I live downtown. I wanted to be a place where a lot of people can live and have the same kind of great life that I do. So yeah, that's what got me involved. I'm still learning. I'm excited to continue to learn and hopefully make some small positive difference.
Basically, squeeze in one more. Yeah, you guys have probably learned as you talk to me, but I'm like an insatiable quant when it comes to, an analytic when it comes to figuring out what needs to be done. So numbers I love, and so if you have questions about numbers, I get interested and then I go find them.
All right, that's good to know.
Maybe I'll go because I love numbers too. I am an accountant by training. Some number lovers here. So Carol Wong, 10-year resident of Menlo Park. I have 3 young children who go to the local schools here. And I had been on the Finance and Audit Commission for 4 years. So really taking sort of some of what I learned there and interest in that into joining this commission where I'm particularly interested in how we're thinking about financing our housing because, you know, obviously, I think yesterday there was the discussion of like the city issuing bonds and, you know, just making sure that we're diligent in terms of thinking through the finances as well and understanding that process a little more. So that's a little bit of what's brought me on this commission.
And maybe I'll just go in here.
Yeah,
but-
we might as well do it.
Yeah. Little round table. Let's see, so I've been in Menlo Park, relatively new transplant, been in California for about 4 years, Menlo Park, a little over 1 year. And I work in planning, so a pretty related field, dealing with development. And I just wanted to get involved in the community that I live in. And I saw the opening on the Housing Commission and thought that would be a great opportunity to pursue. I previously was a planning commissioner in another jurisdiction that I lived in. So I guess I like public engagement in that aspect of being on board. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm Jessica. Nice to re-meet you all. I've lived in Menlo Park for 2-ish years now. I've been in the Bay a little bit longer, but you know, I wanted to get involved mostly because I mean, I've lived in California my whole life, but you know, coming to the Bay Area after college, it was kind of a, you know, a tough transition into, you know, one of the things was really the cost of housing. And I think that also particularly compounds with the lack of like young people who walk to this area. So, you know, definitely fell in love with this place, although I feel like also, you know, you make a lot of friends here and then they often all move away because of the cost of housing. And, you know, I think I've also seen, I married a resident at Stanford and, you know, they're priced out too, essentially. So, you know, just seeing it a lot in my personal life, and just, you know, also feeling that cost of housing and also transit are some of the biggest issues that our society faces, just, you know, led me to like, this is a place where hopefully contribute, in order to make some connection. And I work in tech, so not related to housing, unfortunately.
Well, maybe we can discuss some future agenda items, if there are any, or some announcements. I noticed that we don't have a previous commissioner in the room, so perhaps we can discuss that.
Sure, I'll start with future agenda items, so, in July, we're gonna have a presentation from the city attorney. Just about certain requirements. And, that's the only agenda item we have in July. In August, as mentioned, we're gonna, the annual work plan, will be an agenda item where the commission can start discussing it. That'll give you August and September to refine, revise, however you want to prepare your annual work plan. And that will go to council in late September. So
And now in July, that July meeting is on the 2nd,
yes,
so that is the week of, or the 4th of July.
4th of July is a Friday, yes. And so just part of that is seeing if commissioners are available for that July 2nd meeting.
A little quorum check if.
Exactly. And if not, it would be good to still have a July meeting and we have some backup dates, but just to start. Is our commissioners available on July 2nd?
I'm traveling, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm also traveling.
Okay.
I don't have specific plans, but normally I would travel that week, so if we do have a backup date, it might be good to move it.
So that leaves, I mean, I'm available that week, but,
Doesn't sound.
maybe let's hear someone.
If we can't schedule, I will change my plan.
So backup dates are July 10th, July 14th, July 15th, and July 18th. And what we try to do is we try to set dates. These dates were chosen not to conflict with other commissions. So these are the four, and we didn't want it too late in July because you will have an August meeting, a regularly scheduled. So the 10th, 14th, the 15th, or the 18th.
What day does the 10th fall on?
Thursday.
Thursday.
That would work well for me, I think, that next week.
I'm in Asia all summer, but I'll tell it.
Even that, I mean, yeah, there's a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay. The 10th would work for my schedule.
Not for mine, but if I'm the only one, then maybe that's okay.
14th is a Monday?
14th is a
Can't do
Monday.
the 14th either.
Okay, can you do the 18th?
Technically, yes, I can do the 18th. That's supposed to be Tuesday.
That's a Friday.
Oh, it's Friday. Oh, yeah, I could do the 18th.
Friday evening.
Oh, that's
Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, that's totally valid.
How many do we need for quorum?
Four.
Okay, well, it seems like the 10th might be an option for 1, 2, 3, 4. That is,
Yeah.
no misses then.
And we also will have a new commissioner, right? Or does
Well,
that?
Figure it out.
The recruitment will be going on through the month of July, and the person should be ready for the August meeting. For the July.
Get them on board by August, yeah.
So on the 10th, we would have 4, and on the 14th, we would have 5.
I can do the 10th, 14th, or 18th. I just
Oh.
won't be here physically.
Okay, so the 10th and the 14th are equivalent from the perspective of what people would come.
Yeah.
I kind of vote for the 10th just because that gives us the most even spacing of meetings, but.
Good.
Okay.
The 10th works.
So then that would mean that if Commissioner Wong is going to be virtual, we'll need the other four to actually have quorum, because
Yeah.
in order for you to
Right.
count, you have to be in Menlo Park.
Oh, okay,
So
so
you
don't matter anymore.
Minutes, you can't count. But yeah, that's per the Brown Act.
For, yeah, it needs to be in person.
I can
And-
commit to being here on the 10th, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll have 5 people available for in person. Yeah, for the 10th. Okay, all right, very good. So we will plan for a July 10th meeting. Very good, and we'll let the city attorney know also. Okay, that's great. And other staff updates. Just want to remind you that the city is still going through its anti-displacement, trying to solicit feedback from the community. And I think I sent you just the link to
The
the
survey.
survey. If you can just let everyone know, that would be great. Next week is the commissioner.
Advisory.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome slash training slash appreciation.
Yeah.
So if you haven't RSVP'd, please do. I think June 10th is the deadline,
Mhm.
just to make sure, you know, for logistics.
And
So
that's for all commissioners.
all commissioners.
Yeah.
Yes, it's,
And outgoing people too.
yes.
Yeah.
It'll start with the training for the new commissioners, and then the second half of the meeting, if you will be for outgoing commissioners. So that is an announcement, and then lastly, I would like to meet with the new commissioners. be more than happy to meet with the current commissioners also. But yeah, would just like to meet one-on-one with the new commissioners. So in the next few days, you'll be getting an email just seeing what your schedule is. Be happy to answer any questions you may have about the BMR program, about anti-displacement, tenant rights, job housing balance, RENA numbers, anything under the sun, anything you would like to know about. And so we'll be scheduling that for the month of June. But Commissioner Wong, I heard you're leaving for Asia. We can do it via Zoom, but understanding it's like,
I'm leaving in July.
oh, July. Oh, okay, very good. So through the month of June, I'll be happy to meet with you. If you have any questions, just Q&A, more of an informal type discussion. So just be prepared for that. And other than that,
And then I think we just had one commissioner resign, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
Commissioner Portillo resigned this week
Okay.
and effective immediately, so we are down to 6, which is still great. 6.
Yeah, I guess, so I think this is hinted at, but the process for that would be that, will it be brought up at the next city council meeting, or when do we solicit feedback when do we solicit applications for that, and when would we expect to see a replacement?
The recruitment,
Yeah, it's happening,
as
all the way
dates,
through, is it the end of July?
I think so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. But we've notified
Yeah,
the city
sure,
clerk
sure.
like immediately, so
I
they
guess-
have to get started.
So to make sure I'm understanding of it, I guess what I heard earlier is that they might be there for the August meeting,
Mhm.
and then maybe more certainty by the time we get to September. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends, such as with some of you, you already had plans made, so, there's some factors at play, but
Sure.
yeah, I think the goal is for August, yeah.
And you don't go through the process where you go into the pool of applications from the last round to see if any of them are still interested. It's sort of a brand new process, because I do remember there were quite a few applicants, and I'm sure they're still interested maybe, but.
Yeah, I don't know what the clerk's plans are, since it's a clerk recruitment.
I believe the clerk, they reached out to me because I had applied previously.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So
yes, so,
interested
yeah, I don't know what.
But I think it's a new pool regardless, like we can still reach out to the old.
Yeah.
guys, but they have to.
Double check, they might say,
Yeah.
are you still interested?
Yeah.
And also just to make it clear, the person who is going to be filling Commissioner Portillo's spot, their term limit would end when her term limit is posted.
Yeah.
So depending on how much longer she had here, there's a chance that within the next like 2 years, we have to have another recruitment for her spot again. Unless that person wants to-
That person could, yeah.
Yeah. I would want to stay on, but.
partial term.
Mhm.
And just clarification, just reading from the clerk, the city council will appoint a new commissioner at the first August meeting.
So it wouldn't be until August.
Yeah, so
So that means
the
they're-
commissioner would be appointed mid-August
So then
So
September.
or September. So,
Well. Probably just, I was gonna say, in light of that, is not something where we would want to reschedule our August meeting. Because we are doing the work plan then, right? Is it important to have their feedback, or, I don't wanna make things complicated though, so.
I mean, the work plan can progress without the full, or, I mean,
Yeah.
so long as we have a quorum,
Yeah.
I guess is the real, you
Yeah,
know,
no, I don't doubt we'll have a quorum, I just wanted to see if we should be thinking about getting there.
Yeah.
We'll get them up to speed once they join.
All right.
Now, I've got one other interesting question about work plan. We talked about the work plan, but realistically, there's a lot of stuff that's fed through the pipeline, right? From, you know, there's new housing projects, there's new other stuff that will come in that'll be supplemental to whatever we proactively decide is the work plan, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
as part of the commission's charge is if there's like a BMR agreement that comes through from proposed development, that is, regardless of what the commission decides as its work plan, is the charge of the commission in general.
So everybody else, yeah.
Yeah. Amongst other things.
Yeah, I understand that.
Correct.
And I think the work plan too, I mean, it can be, say, aspirational and some items, but it definitely, you know, has standing items for our normal.
So this is,
view.
okay, so that's kind of reviewed as a
Yeah.
standing item, okay.
Yes.
Cool. Is there any other?
Just have a question, so, CM Schmidt is our liaison, and I'm.
Jeff,
Yeah, CM Schmidt.
Is it? I thought it was Jeff too.
Yeah.
His council member, sorry.
Oh.
Shorthand, CM Schmidt.
Okay.
That's what it was like,
We're also CM.
Oh, that's true. That's true, right, okay, don't let me cause confusion. I'm from engineering, working with engineers, to use, you know, acronyms for everything. So does the liaison come, currently doesn't come to all their meetings, so is it ad hoc or?
That's the discretion of the council member.
Yeah, no, just,
I don't know if there's a requirement, but
no,
yeah.
no, it's just, and then.
He is.
When do you be liaise with the liaison? Or when and how, and I guess those are questions, you know, that maybe we could ask one on
Yeah,
one.
I think those might
there's a
be
guideline
procedurally with the clerk, but I will say that in August or September, each commission will have a report out to the council about the past year's accomplishments. And so it's a little early, but commissioners or commissions have started to schedule their report out to the council. So that was one thing I was gonna bring up starting in July.
Okay.
Just
Is that?
understanding that the council, basically, there are 4 meetings and when the best, most convenient time to do the housing commission report out would be.
And that's to the full council.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that is correct.
And who's gonna know what we did?
Staff can help with talking, understanding that. Some commissioners are senior. But, you know, what staff can work with, the commission.
Okay.
To
Follow the narrative, yeah.
report out, understanding that, you know. We change. Yeah.
Well, if I don't hear any other questions, we can adjourn the meeting at 7:33.
Very good.
Thank you.
You bet.